so we can use these things in the real world, right? Because it's nice to be able to talk about them. It's nice to be able to start planning for those new standards and incorporating those methodologies. And they're being released now, right? We're seeing those. We can incorporate those kind of technologies and future-proof it now, right? So that's really one of the concepts that we're trying to get everybody's head around, is that we can do better today for tomorrow, and we can do it in a way that doesn't cripple our capabilities now, right? The math isn't so hard or so extreme that our systems are burdened so much that we slow everything down. No, it can actually be incorporated in new ways. That's really important as we talk about how we're using it today and really taking it into the new world. Public safety.
Please, real quick, I've gotten a request to slow down a little bit if possible. This is a dense topic today, and we tend to all talk fast here.
Yeah, this is true, and we apologize because there are a lot of new concepts, and I know that people are taking notes. Don't forget, you're going to get a copy of the presentation as well, and the recording, so you'll have the ability to slow us down too. But we'll slow it down. Thank you very much for that input. That's important. So when we talk about how public safety is currently using it and how we can move it forward, not just in the radios, but across the spectrum, right? It's often talked about using and built into the Project 25 on the radio side, really around the standard, right? And as we talk about using AES 256 and better, right? The point is sharing a standard that we all agree to and understanding how that standard can be applied. And we'll talk about CGIS and some of the other new requirements. But the goal here is really to understand how we can secure that information, both at rest and in transit. And so as we talked about these concepts and the fact we have Phil here to really heighten this conversation to that level, the idea is to understand how to better protect ourselves against these attacks. And we'll go into those kind of successful attacks, give you some real world examples. But also there is a method to the madness. There is a way that we can start adding to our protections and using AES 256 and really start implementing across the board until and as we adopt PQC, right? And really going into that level post-quantum cryptography now, right? And really incorporating that question or
so do you know the timeline on some of those NIST cipher suites that involve the new lattice? Do you happen to have that, like just ballpark?
Well, the first round was released back in October. The first set of 3 final candidates. There's an encryption, a signing, and a third one escapes me at this time. But yeah, they are available today. There's a second round that is being put through its paces, and maybe mid-summer of next year they'll be released as well. The paradigm shift for NIST as it stands today, and just cryptography in and of itself, is the ask of the entity and the organization at writ large is to produce resilient and safe ciphers in a short order of time. Normally, mathematicians tend to have an extended period of review, analysis, and penetration testing to kick the tires on this new math, on this new lattice concept before they put their seal of approval on it. But because of the level of commercial investment, let alone nation-state investment in the topic of quantum computing, the U.S. government and its allies have decided we need to move sooner rather than later. And so the first round, as stated, of quantum safe ciphers are available. And the projected date for a commercially cryptographically relevant quantum computer is roughly anywhere from the next 5 to 7 years. If you just look at IBM and Microsoft's investments and progress, it's incredibly encouraging, and also at the same time a little concerning.
Terrifying, in fact, in my world. So, as we move into this, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the standards, right? So we wanted to mention the traditional standards. 800-171 from NIST really talks about how to encrypt data on the unclassified side, right? Controlled unclassified information from federal agencies, their contractors, and how they mandate that, but also talk about FIPS 140-2 and 3, and those cryptographic, basically they put some requirements around the hardware, the software, and the firmware, right? So all three layers, so that you understand how to store it, how to transmit it, and really looking into it. These are some of the rudimentary standards most of the others are built upon and incorporate. And the idea is to really understand how can we all achieve a better level, right? How can we all make it more difficult for the bad guys to hack us? And in a similar way, we've seen some new releases from the DOJ, Department of Justice, the FBI, on the CJIS side, Criminal Justice Information System. New release came out 595 in July of 2024, took effect October 1st. And there are some new elements here, right? We really have to understand that they want us to look at how we're doing our cryptography, right? How we're protecting it, whether we're talking about the ability to share the secrets, how we look up those secrets, whether that's out of band or using one-time passwords, or really understand the authenticators and the verifiers, right? Because we want to make sure the message got there and the message was intact, right? The integrity is there. And then also to what Alex was talking about, the public key-based authentication. How do we share that? Is it complex enough so that somebody can't use that against us, right? And it really talks about those elements on the CJIS side as well. So these are the things that weren't previously documented as a requirement for the criminal justice information system. The reason they came up with this was not to make it difficult, but really to help us defend against the breaches that unfortunately have resulted in the fact we didn't have these standards. We weren't there yet. And so really incorporating this as soon as possible is the new goal and the reason they came out with the new requirements. So there's a whole bunch there. We did a webinar just on CJIS because there's a lot of new requirements, right? All right, so what happens when it goes south? What happens when it goes wrong? In this case, we wanted to give you a real world example where hackers stole data of nearly 200,000 veterans seeking disability benefits, right? It exposed the data because they had a password file left on a server that was compromised in plain text. So the whole point of having good passwords and methodologies is so that somebody can't guess them. And in this case, not only were they able to guess them, they found the folder that it sat in unencrypted. So they immediately had access and were able to then steal everybody's data, or in this case. And we've seen huge ones. We've seen lots of attacks about breaches. But this one is so basic. This one is just simply they didn't encrypt the file. So that if it was attacked and stolen, that everybody's data wouldn't have been exposed, or at least these 200,000 veterans. And these are disabled vets who need that data to be handled appropriately by the VA, et cetera. And so really understanding this and finding ways to better protect, because this is real world, this is happening, right? So